The 417 Gamers is a group of board, tabletop, and card gamers in the 417 area code. This is the podcast. Welcome to the 417 Gamer Podcast, episode 24, the one with piles of possibilities. In the 4, we have a friend from Metagames Unlimited, Carl, drops by. We talk about 4 games that we've been enjoying recently. In the 1 topic of the show, we talk about the pile of possibilities, the unplayed shelf. Does it give you dread? Does it give you a sense of joy? How hard are you trying to get it played? All that stuff. And then in the 7, we talk about our 7 most anticipated games from our pile of possibilities. Without further ado, let's get on with the show. Welcome to the 417 Gamer Podcast. My name's Rick.
And I'm Andrea.
And we're joined by a friend from Metagames Unlimited, Carl.
Hello.
In the 4, we like to discuss 4 games that we've been enjoying recently. Andrea, do you have a game?
I have been enjoying Concordia. We have played it 3 or 4 times in a row now.
Yeah.
Each one a different map and a different variation. We added the salt variation, which is another resource, which is wild. You can use it for in place of any other resource. And then we use the power cards. They're little tiles that come out, and when you tribune and you pick up all your unused cards, depending on how many were in your pile that you take back into your hand, dictates which one of the power cards you're able to select. And you get one every time you tribune, and you can collect up to, as many turns as you take. There are some that are reoccurring, like you get a $1 discount every time you build a city, or you can get an extra $1 whenever you sell a resource, or there are one-time plays, like you get an extra food and an extra stone or something. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I've really enjoyed it. It's one of your favorite games.
It is my favorite game.
And I have, not to brag, but on our final play, I beat you.
You did.
By a couple points.
That's why we're not playing with the forum anymore. No, Concordia came out in 2013. It's designed by Matt Gertz. It's published by Rio Grande Games. I'm a mechanics guy. Mechanically, it's a very sound game. Really enjoy it. And what you described, the Salsa expansion was the first big box expansion. Came with a double-sided map. Came with salt, which was a new resource. You take out some cities and put in salt. You can never buy salt, but salt can be converted into any one good. So you can convert it into cloth when you go sell at the market. The only way to get salt is whenever you do the prefect and produce goods in an area. That's how you get salts. Mm-hmm. I enjoy it. The forum is extra powers, and it throws an extra layer of chaos. So if Concordia is too dry for you, the forum might spruce it up a bit. Maybe not. But yes, we've been loving Concordia, and I'm happy that you're playing it because it's one of my favorite games.
Yeah, we still haven't played all the maps yet. But
no, there's quite a few double-sided maps. Yes,
but there's all beautiful.
Carl, what have you been playing?
Probably the game I've played most lately is Nikojima.
Yeah.
It's just a great little dexterity game. The game I really want to play, though, and I've probably have been dealing with the most, is Rock Hard 1977, just because I've been prepping it and reading the rules and sleeving cards and that kind of thing, but I still haven't got a chance to play it yet. But that
might be on my list we talk about here
later. It's at the top of my to-play list right now.
Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, Nikojima is definitely the one, with the cats and the wires and the, the poles and everything. And it's just a great little dexterity game.
Nice.
Things and Rings. This is one that you guys showed us. This is published by All Play Games, designed by Peter C. Hayward. Artist is Snow Conrad. The art is reminiscent of Dr. Seuss books. Mm-hmm. But Things and Rings is a Venn diagram of sorts. You have different colored circles. One might be thing. One might be motive, kind of like motive, or what does it have to do with. Mm. And you'll have one person that knows the rule of the Venn diagrams, and they will pull out and put 3 words in these. They'll either put them in one ring, in another ring, in both of the rings where they overlap, or outside of the ring. It means they have nothing to do with any of it. Mm-hmm. Then the other players will go around and try and play their cards, because everybody will have a hand of 5 things, which are different words. Could be apple, could be scissors, could be ship, could be president. You take your word and you try and place it based on what you think the rule is. And you don't necessarily have to know the rule on the head, as long as you place it correctly. And the knower will tell you either yes, you placed it correctly, or no, that is incorrect. If it's a yes, you get to keep on playing cards until you get a no. If it is a no, the knower will replace your card where it should go, and you'll have to draw back up. First person to run out their cards wins. Very simple.
Not so simple. I disagree.
Simple rules, I should say.
Yeah.
Simple rules, but you will get into some of those ambiguous answers, like the rule might be color red, and then the aspect of the card could be fits in the palm of your hand. So for somebody, if somebody put car out, cars can be red. And then one person might say, no, cars can't fit in your hand. But then somebody might think, well, a toy car could fit in your hand. But it's up to the knower to work within the spirit of what they think the rule is. So yes, there can be some big ambiguities in the rules, in the
Yeah.
the rule.
So you kind of have to also know the person you're playing with and what they would think would fit in those parameters.
Yeah, it's a good way to learn. It's a decent way to learn people and what they're meaning.
Right.
Sometimes bad meanings.
Yes.
I've played apples to apples enough. I know how this works.
Yeah, exactly.
Final game we're going to talk about is Great Western Trail. This is designed by Alexander Pfister. This is currently published by... who is this? Eggerspiel is the international publisher. It used to be by Stronghold Games, but it is now by...
Is it Capstone?
It is Capstone. They got all 3 of them now. They got Great Western Trail, then New Zealand, and Argentina. Anyway, in Great Western Trail, you are driving cattle along the Great Western Trail. You're whenever you first start, there's not a whole lot of buildings. You race your cows up there and sell them off in the market. You get points based off of different cows in your hand. When you're going along, you can sell or trade off cattle for points or abilities or monies, and then you can go to the market and buy other cows. Mm-hmm. It ends up being a deck builder. You have a stack of cows, and you'll shuffle up, and you'll have X amount. So your starting hand size is 4. Over the course of the game, you might be able to unlock to where you get a 5 or 6 hand size, which allows you better cows, and more points. You play until there's a round tracker. Whenever you cash in your cows at the stockyards, you'll put out more pieces on the board. Like it could be more workers, like engineers, conductors, and builders. Could be more hazards or cattle rustlers that will go on the board. And then it fills up each little row on the side of the board, and it keeps on ticking down until your little time marker kicks off the board. Then you play out the rest of that round. Game's over. Mm-hmm. Andrea will play my dry Euro games with me if they have a good story to them. Like Ark Nova, you're building a zoo. She loves that. Terraforming Mars, you're terraforming the planet Mars. There's method to the madness. It's not just a dry points fest.
Right. Blue cube plus another blue cube equals yellow cube. Why? But selling cows, that I get.
Yeah. So this is one that, a little bit, it's definitely midweight Euro. And the people in the 417 Gamer group definitely have their favorites as far as New Zealand or the main game. Most of them kind of poo-poo on the Argentina one. But, yeah, Great Western Trail is a hit in the group, and we might have to pick us up a copy. And Ethan's the one that champions it in the group. It's his favorite game. And originally, my first 2 plays of this, I played it at Geekway, and then I played it shortly after that. My first play was 5 hours.
Ugh.
Yeah. My second play was 3.5 to 4 hours. And granted, that was some of the company I was playing with, because at Geekway, it was all newbies. And I think everybody was hungry, and nobody was really paying a whole lot of attention because there was a lot of questions to the teacher. And Aaron was a trooper, and he stayed with us the whole game. Poor guy, because in that 5 hours, he probably could have played 2-3 games. But he stuck with us. But that is the 4 games that we've been enjoying in the recent times. Why don't we go on to the one topic of the show? We want to give a shout out to Metagames Unlimited. Metagames Unlimited is Southwest Missouri's friendly local game store of choice. They're located at 3309 East Sunshine. Tons of magic cards if you're into that, miniature games, board games, and a large play space. If you want to play games with us, come out Thursdays from 6 to close, but come out to Metagames Unlimited. The one topic of the show is going to be the pile of possibilities, the unplayed shelf. Carl, how big is your pile of possibilities?
A lot smaller than what it has been, but I've also been trying to make sure that I'm not buying games that if I'm not going to get to the table at least relatively soon. Plus, being, working at a game store and being around people who play games all the time, it's real easy to go, oh, you own that? Cool, I'm going to play yours first.
Yeah.
So I can try to use that as a judge. Like, to be honest, like, there's very few games that I'm just like, I've got to buy it right now. And I made one purchase like that here recently. But I typically don't buy them unless I've either played them or done a lot of research anymore.
Yeah.
Just because I think I've been burnt on Kickstarter stuff too much.
Understood. We dip our toe into Kickstarter every now and again, but that's not a big one for us. The shiny at a friendly local game store is a problem for me. And your guys' used shelf. There are some amazing games that pop on there, sometimes just a few days after release.
Yeah, some people buy them and then turn around and let them go. And then, yeah, even for me, it's like I see something up there and it's like, oh, I should really get that. And then it's like, am I going to play it? And I have to really watch myself. My problem is miniatures. Like, yeah. I will buy miniatures without thinking about it. And then the pile of shame for miniature players, and anybody that does anything with miniatures, they know that term, is pretty large.
Yeah. Does it have to be shame, though?
I mean, potential is a good term for it, but like today I got a new miniature game. There's a new game coming out. I've been looking forward to it for a long time. I don't necessarily have players right now that are playing it. There's one other guy in town that's buying it, but it's one that I'm really looking forward to learning. I'm also like, when it comes to miniature games, I really like just learning and reading mechanics. So I'm interested because of that too. So
I also like the looking into new games, new mechanics, new experiences. I do like exploring some games, but there's a lot of games that once I've seen their trick, I'm kind of like, that's cute, but that's not better than what we already have. And Andrea doesn't necessarily agree with my sentiments at that all the time.
But that's where like theme and everything comes in. If you find, so I'll go back to a game I mentioned earlier, Rock Hard 1977. It is a worker placement game at the core, but the theme of it is so strong that the combination of those got me really excited. And it's like I like worker placement games. And even though I usually like games that typically are a little more interactive, and in worker placement games, a lot of times it's like, I took this space before you did, and that's about as much interaction as you have. This one is just like dripping with theme, and it's right up my alley for what I like too.
Nice.
So
yeah. So if you could ballpark your pile of possibilities in board games,
I mean, I probably have 5 to 10 games at home that I haven't played or haven't played much. But I mean, I was actually going through stuff because I was going to sell a bunch here recently. And I mean, there's a bunch that I still want to sell, but like I probably don't have, I may have 50 board games at home. It's not, I mean, people have that I know have infinitely larger collections.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I've culled down a lot, and I mean, I think there's one that I haven't played that I keep like, and it's like right next to my bed effectively, and I keep looking at it going, I need to play that, but I just haven't had a chance to get it to the table. So
we're roughly back up to 30. But as the top 7 will go, we have, I think, only like one crossover. We're looking forward to playing different games from that pile. But for the most part, I don't have a sense of dread about our pile.
Yeah.
Because last year we came into 2023 with almost 50 unplayed games, and we got it down to single digits by the end of the year, which was pretty good. And then we acquired more, as I do. And the vast majority of what's on our unplayed shelf, I'm looking forward to playing. I don't have any dread about it because it's stuff I definitely want to play, and I hope Andrea wants to or enjoys when we do play it. And for content for the show, it's not bad because we're hitting between 2 and 4 games to talk about every month that we need to play. And then also, when I'm done with some of these games, if they didn't hit, I can turn them into your guys' used shelf or float them onto another gamer in the 417 area.
There's probably a good conversation to be had too, that if you're looking at your unplayed shelf and it's causing you anxiety that you haven't played it, you might think about why you're buying games. Because I think in the board game industry, as far as board game buyers, I've never seen a group of people that have FOMO worse than board gamers. And they will, and they also are very worried more about like, what is the new game, what is coming out tomorrow, as opposed to just the good games that they own.
Yeah, keeping up with the Joneses is as bad in the board gaming hobby as anything else. And I was guilty of going to some midnight releases of some video games back in the day for the Madden or the Call of Duties, or for me, wrestling games, although I was like, those are very short lines for the wrestling games.
Yeah. But no, like but yeah, if you're looking at your shelf and you see a game and it's making you upset that you haven't played it, maybe you shouldn't have bought it to begin with. But I mean, everybody has to deal with that themselves and get over it. But I mean, who am I to tell somebody not to buy a game? That's
right.
Not my job.
That's the opposite of your job, actually.
That's right.
Ooh, do you have that one? I don't know what that is. Well, you should go look at it. All right. Carl, I've got 5. I told you to look at 1. I've got 5. All right. We've talked about our pile of possibilities. Let's talk about what games specifically we're looking forward to in the 7. Meeple-a-thon is coming up here September 27th through the 29th in Kansas City. Meeple-a-thon is a once-a-year, family-friendly board game extravaganza benefiting the Hillcrest Platte County's Young Adult Housing Program. If you're interested in going to Meeple-a-thon or becoming an exhibitor, go to Meeple-a-thon.com for more details. Meeple-a-thon will be held at the Hy-Vee Arena, 1800 Genesee Street, Kansas City, Missouri. September 27th, 28th, 29th. We'll see you there. Meeple-a-thon.com. The 7 in the 417Gamer podcast is the 7 of a given category. We're talking about unplayed games. What are our top 7 pile of possibility games? Carl, would you like to kick us off?
Should I start with the one I've been talking about the whole time?
Sure.
Okay. Rock Hard 1977. Like I said, it was the first board game in quite some time that I basically bought sight unseen.
Yeah.
And just knowing what little I knew about it, I watched a couple, like there was some, I think Man vs. Meeple had a preview that I watched a little bit of, but not the whole thing. But just the theme and everything about it, and I collect records too, so it was like, okay, I like the theme. I'm gonna definitely get this one and try it out. And knowing that it's also a type of game that I enjoy.
Yeah.
So I jumped on it. Still haven't had a chance to play it, but I fully expect to get that one to the table here real soon.
Nice.
Andrea, what are you looking forward to?
Zooloretto. And when you ask me why are you excited to play Zooloretto, my answer will be because there's zoo in the name.
There is zoo in the name.
That's been around for a while too.
It has. Once again, Unplayed shelf or your pre-owned shelf saw it after we played the crap out of Ark Nova, and we've had a couple friends that look at Ark Nova on our shelf and like, oh, that looks like fun, and we're like, it is
Pretty.
Not for everybody.
Not for everybody.
Right.
It's a bit heavy for you guys. Like, oh, but building a zoo sounds fun. So I got Zooloretto so we could learn it because it's considerably lighter and then teach friends, and we just haven't got to that point yet.
Yeah.
That's what I do with like Barren Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
For me, I am looking for Arborea. This is published by Alley Cat Games and designed by Danny Garcia. Arborea is a worker placement. You're in a forest gathering resources, and it has kind of like trippy, almost blacklight art style art on the game. The art really drew me in because it was something completely different than anything else, and I love my worker placement games. But I'm hoping we'll discover that it's a really, really good game.
Yeah.
Number 6, Andrea. What's at the number 6 spot for you?
Unmatched Teen Spirit Edition. We have several of the Unmatched games, and we've enjoyed every one of them. So I can't imagine that this one would not be as fun as the others.
Yep. Do you remember the characters in Teen Spirit? It's got Kamala Khan. It's got Squirrel Girl. And it has Cloak and Dagger.
Nice.
But they came out with last year their Tales to Amaze cooperative, and I'm really excited to pick that up later, and then throw the Marvel characters in there because in the works they have a Ninja Turtles coming out that's supposed to have some cooperative elements to it, and I don't see how or why they wouldn't do a Marvel Tales to Amaze.
It makes sense.
Yeah. Number 6 for me is Lens of Galzyr. This is designed by Sheppo. I'm not even going to attempt that last name. I apologize. Sammy Lasco and published by Snowdell Design. This was kind of coined by the Dice Tower and Man vs. Meeple as kind of Zelda in a box. It's a sandbox where you can go in different things and attack or gather. And it's a story-based game. And that was something that I was liking from our collection, and as much as you like a story and or theme to your game, I grabbed it hoping we would play it. It's just kind of fallen to the back of some stuff, but I'm still really excited to try and get this to the table. Yeah. Carl, you're number 6.
I would probably say Wildlands. It's a Martin Wallace game. I bought it after reading about it. I was like, oh, this sounds really cool. It's effectively like a miniature game, but with card-driven rules, and it's got some really neat mechanics, but it's just one that I've never had a chance to play, and playing at home and playing here at the store are two different things. Like, I can not get my wife to play that. If I can't teach her the rules in 5 minutes and it's pretty light, she's not going to play it. And so that's one that was purely for me, and I bought it, and that probably would have been one now. If I would have looked at it, I probably would have waited a little while, but that's one I still really want to play.
Nice.
That brings us to number 5. My number 5 is Skyrise. This is published by Roxley Games. Skyrise has an interesting auction mechanic. To the buildings that you want to build with, those are also your auction pieces. You have different size buildings, and when you put them in there, they have different values. It's got that, kind of that Quacks of Quedlinburg is you want to keep on going, and you don't want to get hosed. It's that push your luck-esque element in an auction. You want to build the best city, but you don't want to cripple your monies. But you also, and then you have certain buildings. Do I want to save this to build with, or do I want to use it for the money value? It sounds really, really interesting, and I really want to see it in play. It looks fantastic. There's 3 different editions, though. There's like a plain Jane version, there's a nice version, then their deluxe version, which that kind of missed me a bit. that you have 3 different tiers. I get a base tier and a deluxe, but when you're doing like 4 different tiers for a board game, it kind of, I don't know, missed me just a little bit. Carl, you're number 5.
I'm getting into games where it's like ones that I can't think of any of them that I own that I really want to play that are on my shelf. So I'm just going to put some games that I really want to buy that I haven't had a chance to play because I want to play somebody else's copy. But Nemesis,
yeah,
I really want to play that game, and I know that with some of the games that I like, even though I'm not a huge co-op fan, I like the semi co-op games. And that's just, and plus, I love the Alien franchise, so it's like this was right up my alley. But I know so many people that have it, and it's such a beast to own, and it's just like I just haven't bought it yet.
Yeah.
But I want to play it desperately.
Aliens in a box, and if you go online and see some of people's glow ups for their games, 3D printing, running fog machines over the game, finding the actual aliens figures and repurposing them or 3D printing them for their game. And the game's no slouch on itself. I mean, there's a lot of beautiful art on it and some nice pieces. But, hey, I mean, that's another subject we'll talk about, the, blinging out your games, but that's for another time.
There may or may not have been a 3D printed tile set that went through the office last week.
Yeah.
It made me even want to play it even more.
Nice.
Andrea, you're number 5.
My number 5 is Star Wars Rebellion. Now, this is a game you actually purchased, but we haven't played it yet. And it is rare for you to buy a Star Wars themed game.
We have to.
But if it's good enough that you'll buy it, even though if it's Star Wars themed, it's going to be a good game to play.
I've played the Lord of the Rings version. War of the Ring. And I really, really enjoyed that game. And there was somebody in our game group that was getting rid of Rebellion. I'm like, Andrea loves her Star Wars and her Star Treks, and basically space. If it's sci-fi, fantasy, Andrea's there.
Yeah.
Like, and she was playing some deeper 2-player games with me, and that is supposedly Star Wars in a box. One player is the Empire trying to find the secret base, and then the other player is the Rebellion that has their secret base. They put it somewhere, and then they're trying to do X amount of missions before either their base gets found out and destroyed, or I think there's a couple win scenarios for the Rebellion. There's a couple win scenarios for the Empire. But once it's a Fantasy Flight rulebook, and Fantasy Flight rulebooks are sometimes a little dense. And because there's a lot of ambiguities, there's a lot of dice rolling, and then if-then statements. If this comes up, then this happens, and so on and so forth, which it's not bad. It's not a hard read. It's just, it's going to take me, 30 minutes to get through the rule book, and then another 20 minutes to set up. And do I do that all in one day? And by the time I do that, do we have time to play still? So I still want to play Rebellion, but yeah. It's a bit of a bear. Carl, you're number 4.
This is another one that I desperately want to buy, but I haven't, and I still want to play, is probably Feast for Odin. It has all the puzzly fun of some of the other Uwe Rosenberg games, and it's got the worker placement part that I like, and it's another one that I think that I would really enjoy, but that's like a really hard one to get to the table, and so I just haven't bought it. But it's on our shelf, and I look at it all the time.
Yeah.
And I keep saying to myself, if a used one comes in, I'm probably going to snag it. But that's one that I desperately want to play. So
talk to the right people on a Thursday.
Oh, I know.
We have our Uwe fans that would play that at a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Andrea, you're number 4?
Mice and Mystics. We actually set this up one day when my brother came over, and we were gonna play it, so that we got it out of the box on the table and set up. But then we were like ready to take the first turn, and we realized we weren't understanding the rules so much, and my brother's a newbie, so we didn't want him to sit there while we went over rules and stuff. We're like, well, let's just box this up and play something we already know.
Yeah. I've gotten
That's
more...
the closest of all of our Unplayeds that we've had to. It was on the table.
It was on the table. It was set up. I pulled the ripcord because his eyes were glazing over as I was going over rules. And then I had to flip through and like make sure I was right on a thing. And then I started watching a Watch It Played video trying to get to the rule that I wasn't understanding correctly. And I knew I had lost him for that game. I was like, all right, let's get Marvel Splendor out. He knows Splendor. And I don't know if he had played Marvel Splendor yet at that time. And he's like, ooh, what's that?
Yeah.
So I'm like, let's play Splendor. We know that. And then we ended up playing a couple other small games too.
Yeah.
We will get Mice and Mystics to the table again. I will sit down and watch the Rodney Smith Watch It Played video, get all the way through that. But yeah, that's... I used to really be stubborn about putting a game back in its box, especially after I have it set up. But there's too many people that have come out to a Thursday game night that haven't come back. Like, it's curtailed a lot of my stubbornness on pulling a ripcord on a game. If people are glazing over and they're not having a good time, just it's gone. We'll do something else. Let's get happy faces.
Yeah.
My number 4 is published by Bezier Games, designed by Scott Caputo and Luke Laurie. This is Whistle Mountain. I had Whistle Stop, and Whistle Stop, you've got trains that you're moving across a board that you're putting down hex tiles and giving more rail lines, and I wanted to like it more than I did. It's a good game, and the design in there is nice, the art is nice, the pastel trains are okay, but when I was done with it, I was like, man, this is not what I want. So, they came out with Whistle Mountain, which is worker placement, where you're mining the mountains and stuff like that, and I'm hoping that it scratches the itches that I want. It's still the art style I really liked. It still has it's got Scott Caputo and Luke Laurie, who are really good designers. So I'm hoping that it all settles into something I really, really enjoy. Andrea, you're number 3.
Marvel Age of Heroes.
Yeah.
I really enjoy my Marvel games. Again, it comes back to the theme. It's probably the closest I'm ever going to be to being an Avenger is through these games. And I've enjoyed all the other Marvel-themed games that we have played.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to this one as well.
Yeah, this is designed by Rodney Thompson, the designer of Lords of Waterdeep. And this was kind of coined the Lords of Waterdeep meets the X-Men. But I've read enough people that say there's enough differences for good and or bad, depending on how you play it. But this is one we were excited by because of the stamp of the Lords of Waterdeep designer. And when we got it out, we got it set up, and we ran out of time. It went on our shelf, and it just hasn't come back out, and it needs to.
Yeah, I want to.
But my number 3 is hopefully something that we might play here in the next couple nights. It's Cities. This is published by DeVere Games, designed by Steve Finn and Phil Walker Harding. Cities is it's a pretty light family weight game. Plays about 45 minutes, and you're building a city. And there's 3 rows, or no, 2 or 3 rows of there's buildings, there's resources, there's cards to build your city up, and each round, and scoring cards, there's 4 rows. There's 4 things. So on your turn, you're going to place your character in one of these spots, and it's up to you. Do you have the shot, especially if you're the first player in that turn, do you want how important is that scoring card? How important are the buildings? How important are the resources? And how important are the building or the land tiles? Mm-hmm. You're going to go 8 rounds. You start off with a pre-rendered land tile, and then you're just going to build around it. And whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins. Very simple rule set. I'm hoping it's really, really good. Did we get your number 3, Carl?
Not yet.
Carl, what's your number 3?
Tapestry. I like civ building games.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite things, but along with civ building games comes the idea that you're in for a day's worth of playing, and that one is one that you can play quicker. Quicker. But it's also one that I also know a bunch of people that have it, and I've never actually got a chance to play it yet. So that's another one on my list that I really want to play at some point. I just haven't had a chance.
It gives you the taste of a Civ game, but it's not a Civ game. So when you go in there, you're not eating a banana. You're chewing banana-flavored gum.
Yeah, it's like Clash of Cultures is probably still my current favorite Civ.
Well, we've played that. We enjoyed it to a point, but it might be on our chopping block.
It's really.
Yeah.
But I compare it to I really like the game Eclipse. Mm-hmm. I'm not a huge fan of Twilight Imperium, but it's almost the same type of like comparison, right? So Twilight Imperium is like the big monster game. Mm-hmm. Eclipse is sort of like the streamlined, almost abstracted version of it. Yeah. And that's sort of the way I see Tapestry. And I really like Eclipse, and so I sort of want to play Tapestry for that reason.
I feel like Eclipse is the bureaucracy version of Twilight Imperium. Twilight Imperium is grandiose. I mean, there's a lot of... It's like reading Red Rising in the second book. There's a lot of space stuff that doesn't matter. And then you finally have a battle. And then stuff that doesn't matter for a few more rounds. And you play it for like 4 to 6 hours. And there's like probably 2 or 3 hours worth of stuff that doesn't matter. But I do enjoy it. Eclipse, everything matters.
It's space accounting.
Yeah, it's space accounting. It's like Hermes Conrad, the game.
But I don't know. It gets the flavor of the same type of thing.
It absolutely does.
And that's sort of the way I look at Tapestry. It's like I know it's not a full-on Civ builder, but it gives me enough of the...
It's an excellent game.
Yeah, it's just one I want to play. I just haven't had a chance to play it.
Yep. Brings us to number 2. My number 2 is a Civ game. This is Sid Meier's Civilizations board game from 2010. This has a gold cover, has the Roman Colosseum on the front of it. This has square tiles, and you have Fog of War in the middle of the map. There's exploration. There's like 3 ways to win out of the base box. You either get enough technology, you get enough money, or you take over enough people's home cities. Mm-hmm. If you have the expansions, it brings up new ways to win, like culture and so on and so forth. Everybody that has played it more than once or twice say it's one of the best Civ games if you can get everybody into it. It's also one that if even one person is kind of boo-boo facing, that it can ruin the whole experience, because if one person's sandbagging, it means somebody else is probably going to streamline to win.
That's the first Fantasy Flight Civ game, if I remember. Or Civ,
it is, but it's the
Civilization.
second edition.
Oh, okay.
The first Civ had the world map.
Okay.
And the world map is broken. And that's probably my longest tenured unplayed game. I've had this on our shelf. Oh, man. I probably got it right when you guys first remodeled and moved over here.
7 or 8 years?
Yeah.
8 years?
Wow.
9 years?
Yeah. That's my number 2. Carl, what's your number 2?
I'm going to go back to games I actually own that I haven't played.
Yeah.
It is... Oh, I lost my list here. General Orders.
I got that too, and I haven't played it.
It's an Osprey worker placement war game, and I love every bit about it. I won't get rid of it because I know I will play it eventually.
And it's a small box.
And it's a tiny little box, and it's just a solid little game. It's just one I haven't had, and it's like a 2-player game that I know my wife won't play or she won't enjoy.
Right.
So I'd have to find somebody else, but it's like it should be easy enough to teach somebody. I just haven't dug it out to go harass somebody to play.
Yeah. Well, maybe I have to come by on my lunch and simulate a few turns just to have it off my own shelf. Andrea, your number 2?
Cthulhu, Death May Die. Yeah. The box just looks super cool.
It does look super cool. And if you got the Kickstarter version, you had a great big giant Cthulhu, which we don't. We got it off the U shelf. We still have some cool stuff in there.
But I've seen other... Do you?
My Cthulhu's sitting right at the front door of the store.
Nice.
Half painted.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen other people playing it. It looks really gnarly. So, yeah.
It's whenever we review a game, when you talk about presentation, Cthulhu Death May Die is really high up there.
Yeah.
I mean, most people go and look at the box, and then when people are playing it on the table, because whenever you have a player board and you slot in these little tentacles at the bottom, people go over and look and try and find out why you're putting tentacles at the bottom of your board. I did, and that's why I bought it used. When somebody said, this is an amazing game.
And what other game lets you play Ernest Hemingway?
I don't know.
Ernest Hemingway with a shotgun, but in a positive sense.
In a positive sense. And then we're going to go number 1, but we're going to go backwards. We've already talked about it. Carl did. Rock Hard. This is designed by Jackie Fox. The artist is Jennifer Ginner and published by DeVere Games. DeVere is just knocking out of the park recently of games I either want to play or I love. We love Red Cathedral. I love White Castle. We got Sand, and while I think it's a good game, we liked Maple Valley better. We have Salt and Sea. I want to play it. But Rock Hard's 1977 is under the guise of you running a rock and roll band. You can become addicted to candy. Worker placement, really cool components. You have dial knobs that you can tick to track some different things.
And they go to 11, which is the important part.
It looks awesome. The theme sounds awesome. It's worker placement. It has to be awesome, right? Andrea, you're number 1.
Alhambra, the dice game.
Yeah, and we love our Alhambra.
I love Alhambra, and we played it so many times, so I figured the dice game must be cool, right?
I hope so. we're going to find out one way or the other, because I think that and Cities might be the quickest ones to get off our Unplayed shelf.
Yeah.
So those might get played here in the next 5 to 10 days.
Nice.
Carl, you're number 1.
My number 1, and it's been sitting on my shelf for a while. It was a game that I look for years. And when it first came out, I did some research. I read about it. It sounds really cool. I want to play that. Couldn't get it. Sold out immediately. Immediately, like within a year of coming out, it was selling for $400 on eBay. And then it got reprinted. I bought a copy and still haven't got a chance to play it. And it's Antiquity by Splotter.
Oh.
And it's another like Civ Builder meets Tetris on a hex map. Weird type of game. But it's really neat, and it's another one of those games that's a lot. And when you set it up, if you don't have somebody that's like really wanting to play, because it's got a combination of like a Tetris city building, civ building type game with almost like the old 70s style Avalon Hill war game where there's like a million chits on a hex map.
Yeah. And
some of those chits sometimes are just like trees that you can go cut down for wood and keep harvesting. Sometimes, there are things that you're putting out there, but it's when you look at it, it's a lot. And when you're punching out the things, it's a lot. And so it's like you have to have a couple people committed to playing and learning the rules.
And somebody that, from what I was told, you need somebody that's committed to help with upkeep.
Yes. Yeah, it's a lot of game. It's still like, I don't think I will ever sell it because it's a game that I wanted for so long, and then I got it, and it's like, and even like right now you can't get it.
No.
So it's going to stay on my shelf until I play it one day.
That's Splotters in general, and for the longest time they didn't reprint any of their games.
No.
Not until Food Chain Magnate came around, and for some reason they got super, super hot and put enough money to where they reprinted some of them, but they still only gave them like one reprint, and then
Food Chain Magnets had a number of reprints.
Sure, but
it's an outlier.
Right, but that money that they got from Food Chain allowed them to reprint some of them. Like Roads and Boats got reprinted, Bus got reprinted, and actually Bus got picked up by Capstone Games, which was part of that.
It's got reskinned by Capstone.
Mm-hmm.
But like Roads and Boats is another game I'd like to play, but I've never even seen a copy. But what is it? Is it Zimbabwe? Was that theirs?
Mm-hmm.
That one got reprinted, and Antiquity got reprinted once, and that's when I was like, I'm just going to get it, and I'm not even going to think twice.
Yeah. So, Carl, that was the 7. We appreciate it. Do you have any social medias you'd like to share?
Just share our store stuff, metagamesunlimited.com, or I guess I should give the actual, it should be that, but it's mguinc.com, mguinc.com for our website. Metagames Unlimited on Facebook and Instagram. And
yeah, your Instagram is meta_games_unlimited.
Yes, and soon to be TikTok, but not yet.
Yeah, we haven't ventured into that yet, and we probably should.
Because I'm old, and it's a lot to learn.
We went to the fair to watch a band. I am old. But, Carl, we hope to have you in the next episode in the expansion, where we take you through the questions of the 7. And we'll see you then. Goodbye!
Goodbye!
The 417 Gamer Podcast is recorded and produced by Rick Bagwell and Andrea Smith. Our music we use, Kind, Gentle, Beautiful Person, and Making Up for Lost Time was created by Origami Reptica. For links to our music, the show notes, and more, go to our Facebook page at Hobby Gaming Network. Till we hear from you next time, keep gaming in the 417.